Hello, this is Claudia and Other Stories, and we're reading the story entitled Pilar, Adele and Pilar, and it's on page 57. I'm just finding it now, and it's available from Lulu Online Publishing. So, Adele and Pilar is the second story in the book Claudia and Other Stories by Sofia Bothwell and available from Lulu Online Publishing. That's LULU Online Publishing. Bliss on Kensington High Street was a new vegan, non-alcohol policy restaurant cum coffee shop with a yoga/dance studio/lecture space at the back. And it was rapidly growing in popularity with the well-to-do young folk, the ones in their teens and 20s, whose mothers and fathers were actors, high-end models, musicians, or pseudo-royalty from near and far. Even some real royals, but so distant from the throne as to easily pass as regular folk. The only difference being the posh accent and the hefty financial income directly from the taxpayer. No matter, innocence prevailed throughout them all. And the common knowledge that wealth, even extreme wealth, is not where it's at, so to speak. It couldn't buy them happiness or fulfillment, joy or peace necessarily, and definitely not on a permanent basis. So they were all looking for more, looking for the answers to questions like, is there more to life than this? Who am I? What is the meaning of life? What's my life purpose? How can I deal with suffering? The pursuit of happiness and all such cliched quandaries seemed to emanate from the souls that gravitated towards bliss. They felt the arrogance of some of their family. They saw the blind spots of some of their family, the, dare we say it, greed. But this young generation, their souls were good, maybe even old. And they sought to understand what was going on and how to be in this world of ours. They often, yes, loved their privilege, and this manner of knowing they were better than others simply gave way to they are simply different than others. Some had travelled abroad and even worked as waiters and waitresses in some French or Italian bistro to have the experience and loved it, learned from it, allowed it to enrich their lives greatly. Some were the great-grandchildren of philosophers or poets, some famous in their day, some not, but known of in the esoteric circles. Out of this mishmash of humanity was the new earth to grow in London. Just as the writers and bohemians of the 1930s Bloomsbury district were forging new and interesting affairs of the heart and soul, these young folk, a century later, were well aware of the climate in which they were being stifled and knew the limits that could be stretched to plant new seeds of love and hope and peace and health. Some of them had seen their pop star friends succumb to the puppet strings of heroin and coke-wielding managers and were repelled by it. Some succumbed themselves, only to emerge a few years later wiser, cleaner, and sober, with a message to tell. For to delve into the hellish crap of surface pleasures was an interesting voyage of discovery, and the main discovery was how to heal. AA meetings, their social life, and self-help books, their Bible. Adele. Adele was a beautiful young woman, born of Irish accent and ancestry, rumoured to be linked to Mary Queen of Scots. She had inherited a one-bedroom garden flat just off Portobello Road, a cycle ride from Kensington High Street and Holland Park. She loved it there. She befriended a Spanish Basque young woman, Pilar, in her 20s, and together they loved to talk and philosophize and attend the poetry recitals at Bliss. Both were extremely beautiful, but wore no makeup and did not dye their hair, making one wonder whether that allowed them to pass by as ordinary, or whether it enhanced their esoteric looks that demanded the stares, which, of course, they were incredibly uncomfortable with. The ability to deal with unwanted attention is something that comes with age and experience, neither of which they had yet. Such is the drawback of youth. Adele. Adele was relatively wealthy, living off her parents' allowance, although sometimes she liked to take a waitressing job or a kitchen porter position if she got bored, as it was often a lot of fun and the hard work did something interesting to her soul. She learned to plough through any heartache, loneliness, or any other issue that was bothering her. That is how she met Pilar, a vivacious, deep, strong, charismatic, and motherly waitress at a Kensington bistro. Adele was out back washing the pots, 4 hours a night, 4 nights a week. Pay plus tips, plus a free meal, meant it was good pickings for Adele and Pilar, the Basque beauty. Adele loved the lively, family orientated feel to the place, the handsome waiters, and that great Spanish soul that mingled with the fantastic aromas of food being prepared, permeating the ethers of the back kitchen. Adele always left on a high. One day, though, Pilar was in tears, and Adele asked her what was wrong. Through sobs, Pilar told her in rapid speech, broken English, that the waiter she was living with had not showed up for work. He had gone back to Spain with a woman he had been seeing on the side, and now Pilar was left with 3 months' rent to pay on a crummy bed sit and no way of affording it on her own. Immediately, Adele offered to let her stay at her place on the sofa bed and pay the 3 months' outstanding rent bill on the bedsit. Pilar looked at her confused and a little alarmed, to which Adele burst out laughing. Don't worry, my grandma is wealthy and constantly sending me money to top up my allowance. It's no big deal. Stay as long as you want. I'd like the company, and you can save your money instead of paying out a fortune on that crummy cockroach dive. Cockroach dive? Pilar was suddenly distracted by the incomprehensible English language which fascinated her. Besides, we can go to Bliss together. I hate going on my own, and now you can afford to go more often because I won't charge you rent. You are my guest, Adele said with a flourish, and Pilar beamed. Adele actually had a tiny spare room with a tiny window that she'd been using for storage. The two friends quickly cleared it out with several trips to the charity shops and transformed it into a second bedroom, which was ideal for Pilar. This left the kitchen and reception room free for communal use for the two friends. Along with the garden, it was heaven on earth. Adele had a boyfriend, Marco, who had a stall down Portobello Road. He would head back to Italy on a regular basis to garner cheap leather jackets that he sold for a huge markup on the Saturdays at the world-famous tourist attraction market that made many folk rich. He would bring a grocery bag full of fruit and veg from the fruit and veg vendors on the Wednesday, and together the three friends would cook and eat and chat like true bohemians. Until Marco decided to try a little something new. Adele refused to indulge in the pot that Marco brought round one evening. After one whiff of secondary smoke, Adele decided to ban him from the place and her life. The flashback to the times her parents and their friends filling the front room of their house in the country with such aromas and the low activities that ensued was enough to have her literally grab Marco's cheap leather jacket and physically shove him out the door with superhuman strength. Pilar was on her way in at the time and smelled the distinctive scent with a, oh, my. She joined Adele in physically shoving the opportunist wannabe pimp onto the pavement and with a banishing spell and a spit in Marco's direction he was never to return. Adele was shaking, and Pilar put her arm around her, muttering some motherly soothing comfort in Basque. And off they headed to Bliss later that night, to the calm and delightful non-alcoholic, non-drug-induced vibes. They found that life sober was far better than life drunk. They found that no drugs were needed to enjoy life or suppress its inevitable pains. They opted for past life regression sessions, quantum healing hypnosis therapy, rebirthing, and at St James's Piccadilly and Watkins Bookstore in Leicester Square, all classes to enhance life. Pilar stayed working at the restaurant, but Adele left as her hours clashed with an art class she wanted to attend and found great interest in and joy there. She met Pablo, an Eastern European lad from Bucharest who was so amazingly talented and with piercing blue eyes that told the story of their former relationships in several past lives. This type of knowledge came to Adele in many ways. Sometimes through a tarot card reading, her own reading of the cards, or simply through dreams or meditation. This again proved the enchantment of a life without alcohol and drugs. A life which gives us access to the various dimensions that are playing out within and around our lives. So beautiful, she thought, and felt life to be such at times with such revelations, so beautiful. So Adele and the young painter became good friends and lovers and deeply enjoyed each other's company. Pilar too met a handsome young man, a waiter from the restaurant next door to where she worked. They met when on break outside in the alley, as caterers are often observed in the blue and white catering garb, smoking a cigarette or sipping espresso, the fuel of the overworked and underpaid. He was Basque too, and did not smoke, but needed fresh air and a plate of food al fresco. Pilar joined him, and starting up a conversation in their native language, their affair began. He lived above the restaurant and shared accommodation for all the staff of the small establishment. Even the building and rooms had an ancient feel to them. Knightsbridge was old and steeped in history, built on powerful ley lines that empowered all who lived, worked, or even visited there. In walking its streets of Victorian houses full of stories and secrets that we will never know the full truth of, the humdrum or exceptional lives of those who inhabited the mansions only gently swept away into the ethers of timeless time, giving way to the ever-present now, and a new generation of folk to have the chance to make their living here and live here and be here in this special place. Everyone knows Knightsbridge is special, otherwise the ancients would not have settled there. It has power, it has grace, it has something that cannot be named, only experienced. So as these two sat on an upturned vegetable crate, chatting and eating, they fell in love and were absorbed into the etheric beingness of the nourishing soul of London. Claudia and Other Stories, a paperback by Sofia Bothwell, and available from Lulu Online Publishing. That's LULU Online Publishing.